Hello, Aaron. Let's talk about the Uncanny, right?
Okay.
It's the second season, first issue.
Yeah.
You got that beautiful cover that we're going to cut to right now. Yeah, for scale, next to a human body. How far along are you in, like, you're working on inks for what issue?
Issue 5 of Season 2.
Awesome. Is it a 6-issue season like the first was?
Yeah, 6 issues. It's actually a sort of an origin story. So what you're going to have in that issue is Weaver basically growing up. Where he came from, why he is who he is, what things happened in his life that made him the man that he is today.
I read the press release that you spoke about how the things that happen in with Weaver's childhood, there were parallels within your own life.
Yeah, the first issue, not to give too much away, he basically goes through losing his father when he is very young. He's like 4 years old. And this leads him down this life of basically in and out of foster home care and mental institutions and psychiatric hospitals and so on and so forth. And what was happening with me at the time, and this happened like right when I got the first script, was my dad was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer.
Just when you got the first script for season 2?
Yeah, I think I had the script for maybe a week, if that, and yeah, then something happened. My dad had to go to the hospital, and they found a mass in his brain, and it was diagnosed as glioblastoma multiforme stage 4. So, and then he passed away in June, and so as I was working on that first issue, there were a lot of parallels between what was happening in that issue, especially in the very beginning when Weaver is a 4-year-old boy, going through this traumatic sequence where he actually loses his father. His father is wounded. Weaver has to help him with this wound, and then after that, his dad basically leaves and never comes back. So, and then that's whenever he ends up going into, in and out of homes the rest of his life, or childhood rather. So it was very, hit very close to home in that regard, because, here I am. My dad is also, he has a wound, and we're losing him, and so that first issue was a very difficult issue for me to draw, but I think it was rewarding. It's very rewarding at the same time. And,
brought a bit of catharsis, or?
Yeah, I mean, it helped me. I think it helped me kind of work through a lot of my emotions that I was feeling at the time, and that I was able to express those emotions in the work that I was doing. And I think it lends more depth to what was happening in that. So yeah, and that's why the book was on hiatus last year. So because my work schedule ground to a halt.
Yeah.
And
as to be expected.
Yeah. So and I was trying to get as much work as I could, but I was back and forth between here in Missouri, because that's where my dad was getting his treatment, was in St. Louis, and then just dealing with the emotional stress of what I was going through at the time. So yeah, so at this point now, I'm finishing up issue 5. There's one more issue in this series, and then that's going to end this first main storyline.
Yeah, season 2 is pretty much capping off what the season 1 started.
Yeah, so now, and the first issue might seem like a standalone, but a lot of the themes that are introduced, a lot of the mystery of what happens to Weaver's father when he does disappear, that comes back up. later on.
Okay.
So this is all history that's going to become pretty important later on in the storyline with Weaver. So, and his dad's involvement with Cadre and...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and with the whole clandestine superhero world that exists. And I'm trying to think of, like, how much I can really say, but what this arc really starts to become about is a search for something. A search for the origin of what Andy terms the specials.
Okay.
In Uncanny. And here in the penultimate issue that I'm currently working on, we encounter for the first time that origin. And it's pretty cool. And this, as it goes along, especially in this issue, there's a bit of a Lost kind of vibe to
Because there's polar bears.
yeah, there's polar bears.
That's cool. I like those guys.
yeah. No, luckily there are no polar bears, but there is a mysterious island that eventually we will come to.
And there are hatchets.
There are hatches.
Oh, nice. Deliver the goods.
Yeah, there are hatches. Yeah.
So that cover is just that's one of my favorite paintings I've ever seen. Not just by you. It's just the color work is amazing.
Screw you, Vermeer.
Yeah, Vermeer's got nothing on this new Campbell piece. Do you want to talk a little bit about your process? Because you normally work traditionally when painting, you work in oils, but this is acrylics, right?
Yeah. Well, okay, so. I've been doing covers for Dynamite for a few years now, and I got to this, and I've had a real itch to get back to painting recently. And like I said, with everything that was happening with my father last year, I was sort of questioning whether or not I should if I wanted to even stay in comics, and whether or not I wanted to try to maybe take a hiatus from comics and start painting again. And
is it completely impossible to do both?
Yeah, because like my paintings take months to execute, and it's full-time kind of intense work. So and comics is full-time intense work. So so I decided that when they asked me to do covers for Uncanny for season 2, I was like, well, shit, I'm gonna paint them. And
well, kudos.
Yeah,
I'm glad you decided that.
So, but the one decision I did make was that I wasn't going to be able to do it in oils because it just takes too long.
Between layers.
Yeah, between layers, and it doesn't reproduce the way that I paint doesn't reproduce well for covers, and I'm not getting paid thousands of dollars for an oil painting like I would if I was doing, book covers.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, let me try my hand at acrylics. Granted, it's been a long time since I've done any kind of painting in acrylics. Probably not since undergrad.
Wow.
15 years ago. So I just kind of tried to apply my methodology as a glaze painter into this acrylic. So I paint in sort of transparent layers, do underdrawing, build up transparent layers, and it's acrylic, so it dries really fast. So I'm taking almost more of a watercolor approach to the preliminary stages, and then when I get into the final, then I can kind of start going in more opaque with the acrylics, and so I've been loving it.
Did you take a specific influence, like with creating this cover? Did you see it in your mind's eye first, and then it just kind of came out, or were you looking at other people's work and like?
Well, with this cover, actually the image I had in my head was that opening sequence, the credit roll in Mad Men, where you have the silhouette of Don Draper falling down.
Yeah.
So I had that idea of I wanted Weaver falling. So.
Man, Mad Men really got under your skin, it seems.
Yeah, Mad Men. It did get under my skin, I guess. It's got really great imagery. Mm-hmm. So, but that was sort of the seed of that, and I try not to overthink it too much. Like, I wanted to get to the painting as quickly as possible. So, and I knew that for this first cover, it needed to be fairly simple. I didn't want to overburden myself with something really complex and then fail terribly.
I love that this is an example of simple. Great. And then the colors. I've never really seen you work with this kind of color application. What was the inspiration there?
Well, again, it was trying to be simple. So, so I knew that I wanted to have, you know, that really kind of stark division down through the piece where you have the cool versus the warm. And how I, you know, oftentimes I have to kind of force myself to work certain ways or to do certain things. Mm-hmm. So I kind of try to back myself into a corner creatively. Because, for instance, when I'm doing my oil painting, I have, you know, I have a very kind of naturalistic color palette that I use. And I didn't want that to be here because I know for comics you got to really like punch it up and you got to hit people over the head, and it needs to have sort of a graphic quality and it's got to be striking. So the way that I got around that was I super limited my palette to basically paint right out of the tube.
Yeah.
So like the blue is just a blue straight out of the tube. The red is just a mixture of cad red and a little bit of brown, and then the orange is cadmium orange straight out of the tube. And so like I basically painted these with like 4 colors. So, and that's how I, you know, forced myself into working in a fashion that I don't normally work and getting like really bold color.
Well, I love it. I strongly encourage you to keep exploring this path with the bold colors, especially. It's to see such great like tonal understanding and that realistic chiaroscuro, but with these fantastic unreal colors is very cool.
Yeah.
Is that more or less what we can expect from the covers over the course of season 2 that you'll be doing?
Yeah, it's every color has this color palette.
Oh, great!
I decided right off the bat that I wanted them to be somehow thematically connected to each other, and I figured I could do that with the color palette. So I'm using the exact same colors all the way through. So, and actually, even like this kind of really graphic stripe that I did, which I wanted to harken back to kind of like 60s style illustration.
Totally.
Even that runs through into the cover for issue 2. Now the cover for issue 3, I abandoned the stripes, but I still have this kind of graphic pattern that I'm using that I guess kind of mirrors this in a way. So we will keep going. So and I have right now the first 3 covers done, and and we'll see where I go with the next 3. But yeah, that's how I'm keeping the themes all connected, is through that palette.
Fantastic! I cannot wait to see the rest of them, and I will selfishly inquire about purchasing this painting.
And I will unselfishly sell it to you.
Oh, yeah, this is wonderful. This is gonna work out. I like this. We got a thing going on.
Yeah.
Any like parting thoughts on the Uncanny Season 2? Like, what's the drive? What's the pitch? What's the hard sell?
The hard sell is, well, if for no other reason, read it because I'm drawing it.
There you go. Support local artists, you guys.
Yeah.
Support local. It's important.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but it's going to be a great story. I mean, if you're a fan of like the TV show Heroes or Lost, then I think you're going to like this, and especially because we don't fuck it up at the end. So,
that would be a big difference.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that one.
Yeah.